Greetings everyone. Today my group and I will be presenting a case study with the title of Application of GIS and Remote Sensing in Monitoring Land Use Change for Environmental Impact Assessment EIA Compliance in Ranau District, Sabah. So, without further ado, let's get started by a brief introduction.
Without further ado, allow me to discuss the brief introduction of our topic. In recent years, Ranau district has experienced rapid expansion of agricultural activities and infrastructure development. This has led to the conversion of forested areas into farmland and built-up areas. However, these changes have raised serious environmental concerns, particularly landslide, surface runoff, and river sedimentation, which pose significant challenge to sustainable development and EIA compliance. To monitor these changes, GIS and remote sensing technology have become essential tools. They allow us to analyze satellite imagery and spatial data to identify and track land cover changes over time. This is especially critical for Ranau district because of its hilly terrain and high rainfall. When vegetation is removed, exposed soil become highly vulnerable to erosion, leading to increased surface runoff and sediment transport into river. Therefore, accurate environmental assessment and effective land use planning are crucial for sustainable management in this district.
Additionally, the analysis of the case study consists of land use change patterns, environmental impact of observed land use change, and implications for EIA compliance. As for land use change patterns, there are three factors. Firstly is urbanizations. There has been an increase in built-up areas, especially near existing residential zones and major transportation corridors. This reflects the growing demand for housing, services, and infrastructures as accessibility in Ranau is improves. Secondly, tourism activity has become a major driver of land use change pattern. Kundasang is a popular highland tourism destination, and this has led to intensive construction activities, particularly the development of accommodations, resorts, and supporting facilities. As a result, more land has been converted from forest or bare land into built-up area. Thirdly, there is significant expansions of agricultural land. Increasing food demand and commercial farming activities have encouraged farmers to clear more land. These agricultural expansions further accelerates the conversions of forest and shrubland into cultivated areas. Overall, these patterns indicate a strong trend toward human-dominated land use, replacing natural vegetations with urban and agricultural landscape. Next, I will explain the environmental impact resulting from these land use changes. One of the most critical impacts is the increase in landslide and soil erosions. The removal of forest cover for agriculture and constructions reduce slope stability. Without tree roots to bind the soil, steep terrain becomes highly vulnerable to slope failure, especially during heavy rainfalls. Another major impact is the decline in water quality. When soil erosions increase, large amounts of sediments are transported into rivers and drainage systems. These raise sediment loads, which degrade river system, reduce water clarity, and disrupt aquatic habitats. Furthermore, the conversions of forests to urban and agricultural land reduce the natural capacity of the environment to absorb rainfall, leading to higher surface runoff. This not only worsens the erosions, but also places additional stress on river systems and nearby communities.
Let's proceed to the analysis implication of EIA compliance. So land use change analysis in Ranau district reveals clear gap between EIA approved mitigation and measures and actual development practices. Despite requirements retain forest cover, clearing continues steep highland areas, increasing the risk of soil erosion and land degradation. So the loss of natural vegetation also affects local microclimates, suggesting that environmental impacts may exceed initial EIA predictions. So to address this, GIS and remote sensing offer an effective solution by enabling continuous real-time monitoring of land use changes. So these technologies strengthen EIA enforcement through evidence-based decision making, which improves accountability and more sustainable land management in Sabah Highland ecosystem.
Next, to address these environmental challenges, we propose three key solutions. First, implementing soil erosion practices such as contour farming, terracing, and maintaining ground cover. This measure reduces surface runoff velocity and prevents soil detachment, helping to preserve soil structure and lower erosion rates. Second, establishing vegetated riparian buffer zone allowing waterways. This acts as a natural filter, trapping sediment before they reach river channels, while also stabilizing riverbanks and improving water quality. Third, promoting sustainable land management practices, including controlled land clearing, proper site selection, and vegetation maintenance. By integrating GIS and remote sensing technology, we can identify high-risk areas early and ensure compliance with environmental regulation. Together, this solution provides a comprehensive approach to balancing development needs with environmental protection in Ranau district.
Now, I will explain the recommended management measures to support EIA compliance in Ranau. The study shows that forest areas in Ranau have been converted into agricultural and built-up land. This has increased soil exposure, leading to higher runoff, erosion, and sedimentation in nearby rivers. Therefore, focused mitigation measures are needed to reduce environmental impacts while ensuring EIA compliance. The first key measure is systematic soil conservation. Soil conservation should be prioritized under EIA requirements. Practices such as contour farming, terracing, ground cover vegetation, and mulching can slow surface runoff and protect the soil, especially on sloping land in highland areas like Ranau. Next, the second measure is the establishment of long-term riparian buffer zones. Vegetated buffers along rivers help to trap sediment, reduce runoff, and stabilize riverbanks. Buffer width and vegetation should be clearly defined in EIA approvals, and GIS can be used to monitor buffer condition and detect encroachment. And the third measure is fully utilize sustainable land management. Land use planning should be considered slope, soil sensitivity, and proximity to water bodies before development. GIS and remote sensing can support monitoring and improving compliance after EIA approval.
So in conclusion, this study highlights the importance of GIS and remote sensing in monitoring land use change and EIA compliance in the ecologically sensitive Ranau district. So rapid development and tourism has driven significant forest loss, leading to soil erosion, increased runoff, and river sedimentation, which contradict approved EIA mitigation measures. So GIS and remote sensing overcome the um, limitation of continuous and real-time objective data, allowing authorities to detect illegal land clearing and enforce EIA boundaries more effectively. So integrating these tools into post-EIA audits alongside proper soil conservation and riparian buffer protection is essential to ensure sustainable and responsible development in Sabah Highland areas. That's all from us. Thank you.